Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Grow Yours podcast, where we talk everything coaches, consultant, education, and everything in between. And today I am joined by a very special character, somebody that I've never really met anybody who went on this career path. And I think he's super interesting. You guys are going to enjoy learning about him and his business. So now I am introducing Gary Surdam.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here and to share a little bit about what's going on with us and where we're going and what our goals are.
All right, awesome. This is going to be a super interesting conversation. Gary's company is going to be doing something that is going to revolutionize education. So, to start it off, Gary, I'd like you to start off with your personal journey and where we are at today with your current business.
Sure, thank you so much. I'm the founder and president of Bright Start EdTech, and we're focusing on developing a mobile app that's going to change the way we look at educating our children. In the past, we've gone through years of one size fits all, but especially during the pandemic, we found that that doesn't work. That we need to look at how do we take in each individual child and really adapt the learning and the environment that we give to them. So we're developing a mobile app. There's phase one and phase two. Phase one is working with parents that are engaging, that are, because I feel that parents are the first and most important teachers in the lives of our children. And in fact, I've written a book called The Candle of Hope, Reclaiming the Joys of Parenting. During the pandemic, parents had a little, how would you say, eye opener. They no longer were taking their kids to school, dropping them off and picking them up in the afternoon. Now the students were online and they were at home along with them 24/7. And so times got stressed, times got tough. And I felt like it was important for me to write a book and giving parents strategies to be able to bring back the joys of parenting, or if they didn't have the joys of parenting, to begin the journey of joys of parenting for them. And so in our book, we look at honesty, we look at responsibility, we look at communication. How do we build that within our children? And so in my book, what I've done is taking each age level and looking at what do we what is our views on, well, basically the educational level of a child and the development level, and then developing strategies that have parent and child activities where they can build responsibility, they can build communication. And so that was in our my book that was written right after, towards the end of the pandemic. And now we're taking that a step further and we're developing a mobile app that's going to connect parents and children together, helping them to reclaim the joys of parenting, but helping parents to step up to the plate and become that educational leader at home. And so that's the first phase. Second phase is taking it a step beyond, taking it to looking at our students and how do we adapt the learning for our students. So we are developing an AI powered platform in which we are going to really look at adapting our students and individualize the content that they're receiving, and looking at adapting for their pace, for their level of understanding, for their learning style, because each one of us learns different. And I know I was taking courses when I was just starting my journey in college, and I didn't understand what the way that the teacher was basically presenting the content. And so I understand as a teacher that we need to address all students and really look at looking at their learning style and helping them to really get those. And we call it illuminate. We want those illuminating um, moments to happen in their mind where everything comes together and everything is just a positive experience for every child.
I think what you're doing, excuse me. I think what you're doing is truly revolutionary. And I think the listeners would like to know, how did you decide to start this? What was the moment in your academia career where you decided, hey, this is what I'm going to pursue? This is something I want to do?
I actually was teaching a class. I was in California. My students were in Thailand, and I was teaching a class on engineering. And I gave the students a problem. I gave the students a problem, and their job was to find the solution. And so I saw their minds just, you could see the gears in their mind just kind of working. But on their faces, they really were struggling with finding the solution, until all of a sudden everything illuminated with this child's face, and it just lit up. And he understood what the problem was, and he found the solution, and within a couple of seconds he gave us the answer. So that was the start of the journey of developing this mobile app. I myself have an entrepreneur spirit. In fact, when I was 19 years old, I was attending a junior college. I was taking business classes. My uncle owned a restaurant for a number of years, was very highly respected, highly regarded. The food was excellent. So in my mind, this entrepreneur spirit came out, and I worked with my parents, and we opened up a restaurant. And what I saw him doing was getting up, turning on the stoves and stuff in the morning, then going back at lunchtime, collecting the money that came in, putting it in his pocket, going to the bank, taking a rest, and then going back in the evening after dinner, and then doing the same thing, putting the money in his pocket and going home. That's not what business was about. The first day of business with the restaurant was an eye opener, because what I was taught in junior college did not happen at the restaurant. I needed to roll up my sleeves. I was getting there at a night as a 19-year-old, 5 o'clock, 5:30 in the morning, and not going home till maybe 9 or 10 at night. And so that was the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey. Fast forward to where we're at now, is that I really feel now is the time for us to really hit the market, the educational market, with something that's unique, something that's going to change the way we look at educating our children. I put together a team of incredible individuals. I shared this. I started Bright Start International Education almost 20 years ago, and I ran it as an educator. And I found that if I really wanted to not only reach thousands of people, but I wanted to reach millions of people, I feel I needed to learn how to be an entrepreneur. So during the pandemic, I went to online classes with Harvard Business School, and I learned everything that I was missing as I was struggling to grow the business as an educator. Now I have the tools that it takes to really grow a successful business. And so, starting with number one, we have a board, advisory board of superintendents, of salespeople, of technical people that are really bringing it together. And then we also, as a new business, as a startup business, um, there's no money, basically. And so I needed to decide, okay, how do I develop this mobile app with no money to hire these talented individuals that can build it? And so one of my advisory board members is very highly talented in technology and mobile development. I asked him, hey, if I get a group together, will you lead them and monitor or mentor them? And so the idea of let's go out to the universities, let's see if there's any interns that are basically getting an education in computer science and mobile development, and let's see if we can bring them on board. And so right now uh, we have 9 university interns that are really doing an incredible job, and it's led by our director of technology. I don't know the first thing about technology and developing a mobile app, but what I learned is when you bring the right people together, it's just a matter of letting them do what they do best. And so these young interns bring not only their talents and their enthusiasm, but they bring the excitement of young college students that are building our program. So they come in as an intern and they're getting credit for the university as an intern, but we're giving them equity into the company where they have skin in the game. And it is just thriving. In fact, our MVP is going to come out next week. We're going to start doing some beta testing. We will be on Apple Store for parents to go download the app and try it out and really see it how it works and how we're making changes in the lives of families.
That's a very interesting approach. I've never actually heard anybody do that, to go grab a bunch of college kids and say like, "Hey, you want a piece of this company? We're going to build something amazing." That's super interesting. I've never heard anything like the sort. So, I want to talk a little bit more now about what they're building and what is personalized learning technology. And I want to get into a little bit into the weeds of that. Not too crazy because people may not understand, but I'm personally super interested on what that is and how it works.
Okay, thank you. We're actually called our product. We're called Bright Start EdTech, but our product and our mobile app is called Illuminate. And Illuminate is spelled with 2 O's instead of a U. And it's kind of a play on words because if you look at research and you look at those tech companies that have been successful, they have a double O in their name. We have Google, we have Yahoo, we have Zoom. So all of those, so we took Illuminate and we put the double O's in there, and and the double O's are connected like infinity, where basically when students' minds illuminate, they can learn forever. And that infinity mark basically is those illumination moments are going to happen forever. And so that's number one. We're using the technology of AI to develop a platform that really looks at the way a child learns, looks at the level of learning that they're at this particular pace. So let's take a look. Maybe a fifth grader maybe below average or below standard. So maybe they're not fifth grade level, maybe they're third grade level. And in reading, in writing, or whatever it may be. So we take a look at what their level is. But then we also take a look at their strengths. What do they do best? How do they really thrive? And what does it take to get them to that level where they're thriving and taking their strengths? We look at the pace. How do we pace them? Because everyone learns in a different manner. Everyone learns. It just they learn at a different time in a different way. And so take a look at what the pacing is. And then most importantly, AI is going to really take their learning style. How do we learn? How does each individual child learn? As a teacher, our goal is to really touch the lives of every student in their classroom. So we may have a group of 30 students in our classroom. As a teacher, it's very difficult to really give content and lessons that really hits the mark on that child and how they learn. Unfortunately, as a teacher, we tend to teach the way that we learn. And so we're just touching the lives of only a handful of students if we do that. This is going to enhance the way a teacher teaches, and it's going to give her opportunities to really address the learning style of every child and give them the tools to be able to build that. And so that's basically it in a nutshell. These illuminating moments are going to happen more often. We're hoping that we have 10 or 12 illuminating moments in a day for every child, because we want our child to learn. We want our child to love to learn. I got to share with you an example. I was in fifth grade. And I was below grade level. I was a fourth grade speller. And I remember, I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember, there was a folder called Peachy folder. And I used to take my spelling book, workbook, and I would put it in the Peachy folder so that no one knew that I was below grade level. That's something that I take with me, forever, because I don't want students to have to be ashamed of not being at the level that is expected. And so this program is not only going to bring them to the level of where standards look at, but going to raise them above, because now they're getting the learning environment that really hits the mark on the way that they achieve success, and it's going to go on to the future, because once they know that this is the way I learn, this is the level I'm at, they can really thrive and do very well.
So, what are some of the key indicators that you guys are using to determine what learning style a child needs or would be best for them?
It's through an evaluation, it's through a survey, basically taking the data from testing in public schools, taking the data from teachers, and looking at, because teachers know how students learn, or will need to learn. Because of phase one, where we're really addressing and working with parents, phase one is really going to give us a good overview of the way that our children learn, because the parents now will understand the learning styles of their child, because of the way that they're really interacting with their child, the activities that we're giving to them. They are going to now, like I said, they're the educational leaders at home. They're going to drive the next step on really looking at learning styles and how our students learn. So it's going to be a combination of the teacher in the classroom and the parent at home.
So, a follow up question to that: how do you incorporate a child's emotional intelligence into all of that? And is that even a factor? That's something that I'm just personally thinking about.
That is one of the highest factors in our program. We go back to the first phase where parents and children are working together, and we focus on emotional intelligence. A lot of the activities that we give them is a way for parents to discover emotional intelligence in their children, but also give them strategies that's going to help them to build that resilience, help them to build that success emotionally. And so by doing that, that focus at the very beginning with our phase one, parents are going to really hone in to emotional intelligence, but also give students the opportunity to understand their own emotional intelligence and how to deal with life. With a lot of times, a lot adults grow up not being able to deal with life, and emotional intelligence is kind of left on the shelf. But as we start to build that, students are going to become very successful emotionally.
That's a really interesting concept. And I think you introducing this to parents is also going to, besides educating the children, it's going to educate the parents a lot on what it actually takes to teach a child something and to get them to understand. And I know we discussed this a little bit on our first call. That was always something in my household that was pretty significant because I had siblings with learning disabilities, or I don't know what the politically correct term is, but the special needs, like on the autism spectrum.
Hmm.
And this is something I always paid attention to from a very young age. So it just makes me really happy that somebody like you exists that's really pursuing this. It is quite amazing. So I want to, now that we know what you're doing for the children, what you're doing for the parents, I kind of want to know how you are planning to get this in front of parents and get them to know about you guys and how you operate and what growth strategies you're going to be using to really push this super important thing.
There was a professor out of Ohio State University, Professor Rogers. He came up with the diffusion of innovation, and that's very it's a bell curve. At the very beginning, we have 2% that are those innovators that say, okay, I want to learn something new. I want to see something new. I'll try anything that's going to help me to be a better person. And so the innovators are actually 2.5%. Then we have the next one, which is the early adopters. The early adopters are 13.5%, and they take the initiative and they take those innovators that maybe pass it on and say, hey, you got to try this. It's a great program, or it's a great product. Or they go online and they see it online and say, hey, I want to try it. So those are the early adopters. Then we have the early majority, which is 34%. The early majority gets on board. They're all talking about it. They see it on Facebook. They see it on Instagram, and they go, I got to try it. They become the majority, the early majority. Then we have the late majority, those people that are just, they're finding out about it, and they'll go, okay, I'll try it. And then you have the laggards, is what they're called. Those people that will never try anything. And there's about 16% of that. Do you remember the phones that had the dial on it?
I seen it on TV. I wasn't
Okay.
alive for
The
it.
laggards still have that phone. And the laggards don't have a cell phone. They have the phone that's connected to the wall, and they use the dial to basically use it. So those are never going to come on board with us, but we're focusing on those innovators and those early adapters, those people that are excited to try something new. And how we plan to do that is by using social media influencers. Maybe they focus on education. Maybe they focus on parenting. We're going to connect with those social media influencers. Let them test it out. Let them try it out and see, how does it work for them? How do they see it working for the future of families? So that's our first phase, really looking for the first, I guess you would say 15%, the innovators and the early adapters, getting them to move forward and getting them to do that. Then the early majority are going to be influenced by, now these social media people are constantly say, Illuminate, you need to try Illuminate. It's changed the way that I became the leader of my home, the way that I became the educational leader in my household. And so they're going to come on board there. Once we have that, and we're looking at least maybe a year to a year and a half, we actually will have cheerleaders. Every parent who has tried our program and continue. Now, I want to share with you, we use the concept of Duolingo. Duolingo is a way that a mobile app, you're able to learn a language. How did they how did they recruit users? They offer it for free. They offer it for free, and they still do that. But then there's incentives and there's more that they can do. Once you start learning, I want to do more. So they pay for a subscription. Our goal is to give parents enough information and enough success that they will buy a subscription to our program. So our first one is free. They get an affirmation. By the way, we feel that parents sometimes don't get the credit that they deserve. So every time they can decide on Monday and Thursday at 6 o'clock in the evening, I want to get a notification. And they'll get a notification that is an affirmation to parents, giving them an applaud for doing what they're doing. Because actually, parents are our future. They are determining the success of their children. They're also determining our success as a country and as a world. So we're giving them an applaud. We're giving them a thumbs up. Then from there, they're clicking on it. Okay, here's an activity. Try it with your child. And the thing that we do is, I've been in restaurants where families are there with a phone, and there may be two children and a parent. Each one of them's on the phone. They'll move the phone and get their plate, and they'll go back to the phone. What we want our parents to do, we give them 3 steps. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Step 3 is now put the phone down and do the following. And so we want them to put the phone down where they're spending more time with the child than they are on the phone. And so they're able to do that. If they choose to, what they're doing is they like it and they enjoy it, then they can go into the next level where they can get more activities other than just 1 day a week or 2 days a week. They can get a library of different parent-child activities. They could join a community group where parents come together. Maybe they have the same age children. They come together as a community and support each other. And then also there's the third part of it, which we call the platinum um, uh, platinum stage, and which they are going to be able to participate in webinars, in-person workshops taught by parent educators. So that's the kind of concept that we're bringing together. We anticipate at least maybe 500,000 or more of subscribers in the next year and a half. When we're ready to roll out the personalized learning app for students, that phase 2, now they are our cheerleaders. They are those innovators and early adopters that are going to go to the principal at the school and say, I've been using this. They're coming up with a new product that is personalized learning for my child. Take a look at it. I want you to look at it. So they become our supporters and our cheerleaders in the local public schools and private schools.
So, as you have parents becoming these ambassador types, becoming the ones advocating for you in the local and public schools, how do you think the current state of education, public education, is going to impact the parents' ability to have that influence and push that agenda almost?
Right now, education is at a fork in the road, basically. With especially in the United States government, they're looking at doing away with the Department of Education, which Title I funds are focused on giving extra money to schools to really address the needs of those students that are behind and below grade level. Now, it's up to states to be able to decide how they're going to use the funding to address the needs of these students. Unfortunately, not everyone is on the same page when it comes to that. When it was part of the Department of Education, it was all basically everyone was on the same page. Now it's going to be determined by the state that sometimes maybe they won't look at the importance of addressing the needs of those students that are minorities, those students that are not in schools that that have the incredible opportunity to learn. So it's going to be a big struggle, number one. Number two, now we're going to need to give parents the tools. If they're not getting them at the school, getting the tools to be that educational leader at home. And schools are going to find out that, okay, maybe we don't have the funding we used to have. And so we need to include our parents as those educational leaders at home. And that's where we feel our mobile app is going to really help to address the needs of the schools.
So, where do you see the end game? What's the ultimate goal for Bright Start? Where do you potentially see yourself opening schools? What's the final?
The goal basically, and I know I'd like to share with you a quote that from a book written by Og Mandino. Never be ashamed to dream big dreams, because what you dream, you will become. We need to give our students the tools and the confidence to dream big, and the sky's the limit. And so I have this vision of every every student, every family across the world is going to have the mobile app available to them. I'm a professor of global education. We focus on the sustainable goals from UNESCO, United Nations. For goal number 4 is giving a quality education to everyone. I see it spreading around the world. And the reason why I went to Harvard Business School is because I wanted my company to be sustainable so that we can reach every part of the world and give the opportunity to every family to find success. So end game is an incredible opportunity for every child around the world to have what we call in sustainable goal number 4, quality education. And it starts right here and right now.
Okay, I think that's a great way for us to wrap it up here. Where could people find you, Gary? Where could they get in contact with you?
We have a couple of things. Number one, we have a website, and again, I referred to Illuminate, and it's something that when we look at it, sometimes we think, okay, an educational company doesn't know how to spell Illuminate. But if you go back to the concept, we're on the web, and it's Illuminate, ILLOOMINATE.net. They can get on there and they can take a look at what we're doing. Our beta testing will be on Apple Store for parents to download probably within the next 2 to 3 weeks. Keep an eye out for that. We will list it on our website when the opportunity is out there and a connection to Apple Store to download it. And feel free to contact me. I'm on the website, and take a look at the great people that we have put together. I believe we're going to make a difference in the world, and it started with our interns. Our interns are developing such an amazing program that it's going to change lives around the world.
Okay, that is it for today's episode of the Grow Yours podcast. Gary, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here, and I look forward to many things happening in the future.
Let's do it.
Take care.